What if I told you one organization became a multi-billion-dollar business without owning a single football club? No Real Madrid, no Manchester City, no players, no stadiums. And yet every 4 years, billions of people stop everything to watch its event. In 2018 alone, around 3.5 billion people watched the FIFA World Cup. That's almost half of the world's population. So how did FIFA build one of the most profitable organizations in sports without actually playing football? Well, let's find it out. Hi, I'm Shruti. Welcome to One Company, One Story. This podcast is about one company, decision taken by that company, and a lesson to be learned. Also, this podcast is based on publicly available information and is intended for educational purposes only. Damn, it's good to be back. We took a short break over the past couple of weeks to recover and recharge, but we are back here with another fascinating business story. And you know what? Today we are talking about an organization that most people think is about football, when in reality, it's one of the smartest business model ever created. Because FIFA isn't selling football, it's selling the world's attention. Before we begin, don't forget to follow our One Company, One Story Instagram page for updates, behind the scenes content, and the episode highlights. You can also now listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube Music. Just search for One Company, One Story, and you know the drill. Join us there. Well, with that said, let's get into today's story.
Alcohol sales have been banned.
FIFA is under fire.
Think personally. For 3 hours a day, you cannot drink a beer, you will survive.
The most deadly Middle East construction project.
They always say that good things starts with a problem. Is that true? Do you guys believe in that? Now let's go back to 1904, where football was becoming popular across Europe. But there was one issue. Every country had different rules. International matches were difficult to organize because there wasn't one governing body. So the representatives from 7 countries met in Paris, and they created FIFA, which is Fédération Internationale des Football Association. So this is actually a French phrase, so since I don't speak French, I might not pronounce it properly, but in English it's translated as International Federation of Football Association. So their mission wasn't to own clubs and wasn't to make money. It was pretty simple, to organize international football. And you know what? Today, that small organization has grown into one with 211 member associations, even more than the number of countries recognized by the United Nations. Some members aren't even independent nations. Places like Macau and US Virgin Islands have their own FIFA teams. So in 1930, FIFA organized the very first World Cup. They had only 13 teams participated in that. Travel was pretty expensive. Many countries didn't even attend because of that. Nobody even imagined that this tournament would one day become the biggest sporting event on earth. But every edition became bigger because television arrived, and then satellite broadcasting, then streaming. And then suddenly the World Cup wasn't just a football tournament. It became a global media event. That was FIFA's biggest strategic decision. So instead of owning football clubs, they owned football's biggest stage. Here's something that surprises most people. FIFA is actually a non-profit organization. Their mission is to promote football around the world. Pretty simple, right? They fund youth football, development programs, women's football, education initiatives, and social impact projects through FIFA Foundation. Yet, despite being an NGO, it generates billions of dollars in revenue. How, dude? How? Think about this. FIFA doesn't manufacture footballs, doesn't own stadiums, It doesn't pay club salaries. So where does all this money come from? The biggest source is broadcasting rights. TV networks and streaming platforms across more than 140 countries compete for the right to show World Cup matches. Because wherever billions of viewers go, advertisers follow them. Broadcasting alone has generated billions of dollars every World Cup cycle. Their second source is sponsorships. Brands like Adidas, Coca-Cola, Visa, Hyundai, Qatar Airways, they pay enormous amounts to become official FIFA partners. Note the point over here. They are not buying football. They are buying attention. Then comes the ticket sales, hospitality packages, official merchandise, licensing, and even FIFA branded video games. In fact, every full year, around 95% of FIFA's revenue came from the World Cup itself. One tournament, 4 years of income. Amazing, right? Here's what this business model fascinating. Football clubs spend billions every year. Buying players, paying salaries, maintaining stadiums, managing transfers. Sounds like a lot. But FIFA does almost none of that. The clubs develop the stars. National teams bring them together. And FIFA owns the event where the entire world watches. It's the same idea behind the companies like Uber and Airbnb. They don't own cars. They don't own the hotel as well. They just own the platform. In fact, if you have been following One Company, One Story, we have already broken down Uber's business model in our previous episode. If you haven't listened to it yet, definitely check it out after this one. Because FIFA follows a surprisingly similar principle. It doesn't own the clubs or the players. It owns the platform where the entire world comes together. If hosting the World Cup costs billions, why does every country want it? Take Qatar. Reports estimate that the country spent around $200 billion connected to the 2022 World Cup. So that included the stadiums, airports, roads, and a new metro system, the entire district. So why spend so much? Because hosting a World Cup is about more than football. It's about tourism, global branding, foreign investment, and soft power. For 1 month, the entire world's attention is focused on your country. That's marketing. No advertising campaign can buy. Well, of course, FIFA's story isn't always perfect, okay? The organization has faced corruption scandals, especially over the World Cup hosting decisions. So in 2022, the Qatar World Cup took place. This World Cup sparked a debate around immigrant worker conditions, human rights, LGBTQ rights, and the allegations surrounding the bidding process. So these controversies damaged FIFA's reputations heavily. But financially, the business kept growing. So it's a proof that the powerful business model can survive criticism, but the public trust is always harder to rebuild than the revenue. So the World Cup keeps getting bigger. 2026 edition expands from 32 teams to 48 teams. More teams, more matches, more viewers, more sponsorship opportunities, more broadcasting revenue. The business model remains the same. Own the event, not the clubs. One lesson to be learned from this episode is that, FIFA actually teaches the biggest business lessons, what I think. Because you don't always need to own the product. Sometimes owning the platform is even more valuable. FIFA doesn't own Real Madrid, doesn't own Manchester City. They don't own Messi or Mbappe. But it owns the one tournament that brings them all together. And that's where billions are made. So that was the story of FIFA. An organization that transformed one football tournament into one of the biggest business empires in the world. This is one company, one story. So every Monday and Thursday, we break down businesses through one defining decision that shaped their success or a failure. If you really enjoyed this episode, follow the podcast and share it with someone who loves football or a business. Okay, so it's not like if you really enjoyed this episode, even if you enjoyed this episode, do the same thing, okay? Because sometimes the biggest winner isn't the team lifting the trophy. It's the organization that owns the stage. This is Shruti signing off. See you in the next episode. Until then, stay updated. Bye.